My wife Teresa worked at a local dental clinic. She had a day off on Wednesdays and Sundays. Over the years, I have risen through the ranks in my company and recently received the position of vice president. I couldn't help but notice that the higher I went up the corporate ladder, the less I actually had to do. When I returned to the office after lunch, I realized that there was almost nothing on my desk. I had a good team, and I trusted them enough to delegate the work I was responsible for. We don't have rocket science. Just hire the right people and pay them enough to keep them loyal. As I was pacing the office for the 100th time, it occurred to me that today was Wednesday and Teresa should be home. Why be a vice president if I can't leave early from time to time? I told the receptionist that I was leaving and asked her to call me on my cell phone if she needed me. I jumped into my SUV and headed home. On the way, I thought about how surprised Teresa would be to see me. In 19 years of working for the company, I did not come home earlier than 3 times, and that was because I was so ill that I could barely stand. Driving up to our house, I noticed an unfamiliar car in the driveway. I took another look at her as I parked. It was one of those ridiculous, in my opinion, Mini Cooper cars. Teresa showed some interest in them, but I would prefer not to be seen in one of those newfangled Volkswagen Beetles. I hate them. As I opened the front door and listened to determine which room Teresa and her visitor were in, I casually asked who was there, and I didn't hear anything in response. Passing through the lower floor, I caught faint sounds from the bedroom upstairs. I went up the stairs as quietly as I could because I had a bad feeling. I didn't even forget to step over the 5th step, which always creaked. It became obvious that the sounds were coming from the marital bedroom, and it wasn't me making them. There's a real problem in my house. The bedroom door was slightly ajar, so I crept closer and looked into the room. What I saw was immediately etched into my brain forever. I could see the ass of a medium-sized guy. He was completely naked and clearly had someone. I could see Teresa's legs wrapped around his waist and her ankles locked together. The door was only slightly ajar, and I didn't see anything else, and I shouldn't have. I walked away and leaned against the wall, fearing that I was going to throw up or pretend that I was dead. Teresa would never allow such speeches, especially to her. That's all I knew. And then I heard her moan in agreement. How could a woman I knew so well do this to me? In my house? In our marital bed? With some loser who's got shit pouring out of his mouth? My first instinct was to rush in there and beat the shit out of the guy, and then slap Teresa in the face. My anger scared me. I've always managed to keep my emotions under control to avoid legal problems. It was the only time I was ready for lawlessness. Then I thought about my 2 children and my job. When I throw her crooked fool out on the street, she'll want half of everything. And if I end up in prison, I'll probably lose my job and she'll have everything. Somehow, my brain returned to normal functioning mode, and I realized that I could always find this jerk and kill him, and Teresa would not go anywhere if she thought that I did not know her damn dirty secret. I felt like I had 2 options. I could accept Teresa's infidelity and hope that her affair would eventually end, or I could take revenge. The right choice in such circumstances has been discussed since the time of Adam and Eve, but I personally have not had a moral dilemma. I just need time to plan everything. I left the house as silently as I had entered, wrote down the bastard's license plate, and returned to my car. Then I did what any normal guy would do when concentration and clear thinking are so necessary. I went to the local watering hole. The clarity of my thoughts and the evidence of the necessary answers are directly proportional to the amount of beer I drink. I drank 4 mugs in the first hour, and strangely enough, they didn't help, so I drank a few more. And that was the strangest thing. I didn't even get drunk. I was just angry. Then he became sullen, and I felt completely alone. Sitting there and thinking about Teresa, I realized that she had penetrated every part of my being. She was what made me complete. I succeeded at work mainly because she always pushed and encouraged me to want the best and feel that I could do better. She made me feel confident and equal to any macho man. I never realized that she was making me dependent on her. I've always told myself that I can quit smoking at any moment. The truth was that I was addicted. From a damn liar. Can I buy a Band-Aid or something that will help me get rid of this habit? Is there any refuge that I could use? There was probably a support group somewhere where I could stand up, tell my name, and then admit that I was addicted to this cheater. This scenario was too awkward. and I quickly dismissed the idea. I sat and tried to come up with a solution. It will have to include something like, the guy who used Teresa. Teresa must have felt somehow that losing me was a bad thing. I will never be able to physically hurt her. I knew it, with a certainty that would not even allow the thought of such an act. Even after everything I saw, I realized that I would go to hell to save her from trouble. That was the part that made me so angry. She had me. She has insidiously taken over my soul. Maybe she's some kind of witch or something. I was bound much more securely than if I had been chained hand and foot. How the hell did this happen? Why didn't I notice any warning signs that my will no longer belongs to me? Heck, I didn't even notice how her affair started. I was happy as a pig splashing in shit, and I thought she was too. It became obvious that the revenge plan would not be simple. She couldn't have any real feelings for me to do what she did. If I kill myself, she'll laugh all the way to the bank. I had no real power over her. I couldn't make her suffer. It was then that the beer finally took effect and clarity flooded my brain, dispelling the fog. To have fun, revenge doesn't have to be immediate. Quite the opposite. It would be much sweeter that way. It was then that the stupidest revenge plan ever devised by mankind was born. I started to grin when I realized that the genius of my plan lay in its very simplicity. I decided to become the perfect husband, friend, lover, and partner. I was going to grab onto her soul with a death grip, just like she grabbed onto mine. She's going to need me and depend on me so much. That's what's really going to hurt her when I throw her to the sidelines. I realized that it wasn't conventional wisdom to take revenge on a cheating wife, but maybe no one had ever thought about it before. I'll probably be able to write a self-help book and make a fortune from it after I'm done. Feeling refreshed, I paid the bill and headed for the door. Beer was my best friend, and it was with me again. It's just that some jerk put the table right where I was trying to pass, and I knocked over someone's mug with my ass and slipped on the spilled one. After I got to my feet and assured the worried bartender that I'm fine, then headed for the exit again. The clarity of my consciousness did not extend to my limbs, which had lost most of their sensitivity. The journey home was long and difficult. I almost got lost in those 2 blocks from the bar to the house, but in the end I leisurely entered my house, ready to start implementing my insidious plan. "Joe, are you okay?" Teresa asked. "I'm fine. Thanks, darling." "Why are you asking?" I protested softly. "Well, just a couple of things, honey," Teresa smiled. "Your shirt is torn, your pants are dirty, there's a bruise on your cheek, you're 3 hours late and you're covered in shit. Damn, this is going to be harder than I thought." She was good, very good. My mind raced when I thought about how to become the perfect husband. "Do you want me to take out the trash, honey?" I asked. Teresa gave me an unfathomable look. "Or would you rather we went to the mall and bought new clothes for you?" She stared at me as if I had 3 heads. "How about we try to get tickets to the ballet?" I added quickly. I knew she liked him. "How hard did you hit your head, Joe?" "Sit down here and let me look at this bruise," Teresa insisted. Heck, that's how she took control of me, being so attentive and caring. I sank heavily into a chair. Teresa went to the sink, wet a napkin and wiped my face, looking at me carefully. Her touch still gave me goosebumps. There were a few wrinkles on her face, but I realized that she was even more beautiful than the day I married her, and then she was really hot. She gained a few pounds, but it only added to her feminine charm. "I'm going to call an ambulance, Joe. I think you might have a head injury. It's like a rock in there, and it bothers me," she admitted. My plan has already failed. Going to the hospital because of an erection seemed stupid. I got up and took the phone from her. I remembered how that day she wrapped her legs around some dude, and my whole plan collapsed. The beer was running out, and the anger was returning. "What did you say?" Teresa asked, stunned. "What did you call me?" "I'm 6 feet tall and weigh 185 pounds, while Teresa is 2 inches taller than 5 feet and has never weighed more than 120 pounds. I just picked her up and headed upstairs to the bedroom. "Joe, you're not well. We need to get you to a doctor," she pleaded. I had to give her credit. Over the years, she has given me several strange reasons not to make love, but this one took the first prize. I threw her on the very bed where she had been playing without me a few hours ago. It occurred to me that she was probably worried. She knew that I would find signs of recent activity on her body. She was wearing a baggy shirt and loose shorts, and I just reached out and pulled the shirt over her head before she guessed my intention. "Joe, you're hurt and you need attention," she pleaded again. "I'll show you what needs attention," I croaked. This woman was smart. I have to give her credit. I didn't find any trace of the guy who shoved his salami at her a few hours ago, but there was no soapy, freshly washed taste either. "Honey, why is there dirty laundry on the floor?" I asked as calmly as I could. "I know you'll be angry when I tell you." "Darling," Teresa warned, "promise me you won't try to beat the shit out of this guy." My blood started to boil again. "What guy, honey?" I cooed. I was very proud of my cool demeanor, even after the beer effect had disappeared. "Promise?" Teresa insisted. I crossed my fingers behind my back and replied, "I promise. I was going to kill that bastard. Do you remember I told you last week that I have to go to a seminar today on how to fill out insurance forms correctly at work?" Teresa asked. Did she tell me that? I also made the mistake of telling Louise that I would be gone all day. You know she has some kind of family problem, right? When I got home, she was in our bed, drunk as a monkey and making love to some jerk she picked up in a bar, Teresa continued. She brought him here so Jack wouldn't catch her. My head was spinning. It wasn't Teresa making love. It was her stupid sister. I remembered her telling me that she needed to go to some kind of seminar. It's just that I've never paid attention to it. Teresa still loved me and wasn't a cheater. Then I remembered that I called her that. I dodged a bullet. I was furious and threw them out of here. I do not know his name. Don't even ask. He's not worth your time or trouble, Teresa assured me, stroking my cheek. Are you upset? I was delirious with joy. A huge burden has been lifted from my shoulders. I grabbed Teresa and kissed her hard. My heart was breaking. You can't be responsible for every stupid trick your sister does, honey. I love you so much, I whispered in Teresa's ear. Then I heard the words that brought me back to earth and almost ruined my evening. I love you too, darling. I'm going to go online now and book ballet tickets.